Another epic edition of the crossover is off and running. Brandon Kravitz, Mike Bianchi in the zone, open mic, merge and become one. What's up, Mike?
Absolutely. And we have a lot to talk about, Krabby Krabs. I know that you have broken down every NFL schedule. You're going to break that down for us on the crossover, all sorts of stuff. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
No, you go ahead. Tee it up.
All right. Speaking of the NFL schedule, I know that is a very, very big day for you, being the NFL helmet head that you are. I've glanced at the schedules, all right, and only the 3 state teams. I want to get your opinion on specifically your Dolphins, all right, because just from what I've seen, I think the Dolphins have the best chance of having a great season this year based on schedule. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, injuries, all of that stuff. But just based on the schedule, when you look at the Dolphins' schedule, I think they can sleepwalk to 10 or 11 games next season.
I tend to agree. I went through and did my win-loss projections for each one of these teams. As one does after the schedule comes out. And typically what I do, I don't overthink this. You know, we know that there are going to be weird ebbs and flows to the season, and you never know how injuries impact things. So I like to look at things at a very basic level. Should you win this game? Should you lose this game? And I'll sign a win or a loss there. I'll also give every team 1 or 2 wins that you don't expect and losses that you don't expect, because that's always going to be part of the case. Even with doing that very basic view of running down the schedule for Miami, I got to 11 wins for them. And part of the reason why I couldn't push it any further than that is I do think there's this really tough part of the schedule where after their bye week in week 6, they get the Colts, Cardinals, Bills, Rams, So it's Colts, Cardinals, Bills, Rams. 3 of those 4 games are on the road. Prior to their bye, they're on the road against New England. So there's this middle part of the schedule where they play a lot of road games. I think that could end up tripping them up. I do like the fact that they get Buffalo early in November rather than late December, because that tends to be more problematic. And by the time they end up playing the Jets week 14 and week 18, Aaron Rodgers will probably be on the shelf by then. So I'm liking the way that this sets up for Miami. I've got them coasting to 11 as well.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers will either be on the shelf or on an ayahuasca trip somewhere.
Or another Tucker Carlson podcast.
By the way, have you factored in the Dolphins' traditional late season swoon under Mike McDaniel? Have you factored that into your
a little bit. I gave them 2 wins against the Jets, but I did factor in a loss against Green Bay on that. I think that's actually on the Thanksgiving night. I believe it is. So that's an exciting showcase game. But a game against the Houston Texans, they actually do. The end of the season is pretty tough for them. Houston, San Francisco, Cleveland, and New York. So I think a lot of their wins, that's why that middle part of the schedule is so important for Miami, because if they can get by that road portion in the middle, they'll be okay. If not, the end of the season is going to be a little treacherous. I'll ask you, let's just switch gears to MLS, because Messi, quite notably, did not play. And a lot of fans got fleeced in terms of tickets. I know in the secondary market, tickets were up to $135 prior to the game. And then when you found out the news that he wasn't going to play, ticket prices dropped by almost $100. I don't know if you know the season ticket prices for Orlando City and across MLS. I'm assuming that those numbers went up when Messi became part of the fold.
Absolutely.
Okay, so fans got screwed. That's not a question. It's just more of a statement. My question to you is Messi actually more negative for MLS than he is positive because of things like last night or on Wednesday night that can happen where he doesn't show up because he has a nagging, quote, knee injury? He overshadows the league to such a degree that there's part of me that thinks that he is overwhelmingly, at least more negative than he is positive to the impact of MLS.
Well, first of all, I love what one of our texters, Orlando City fan on our show, has nicknamed him Lionel Missing. All right, Lionel Missing instead of Lionel Messi. But you should know this, Kravitz. Being the sports fan and sports talk radio host you've been for quite some time, you know sports leagues don't really care about the fans that actually attend the games. All they care about is getting eyeballs on their TV product because that's where they make all of their money. And Apple TV and the Apple TV streaming that MLS is now pictured on. Apple's even paying some of Messi's salary. I think Messi may even get a part of the Apple TV deal. So that's all they care about. So no.
Okay, and I agree. I understand that. I'm not naive to that. And part of my view for the negative impact of Messi is because of what happens to fans that they've been waiting their whole life. You have adults that have been waiting their whole lives to see this guy play live. And I'm talking about the cheapest ticket was 135. I don't know what good seats were going for. That was a lot more. And people that were so excited to see that and then have the rug yanked out from under them. Never mind all of the hoops that Orlando City and other clubs have to jump through because Messi is going to be in their town. And then that's money and time wasted on extra security and all of that stuff. So that's definitely part of it. But I think the league is almost becoming too Messi reliant, where you talk about all of these subscriptions and the attention. What happens when Messi goes away? Is he going to leave the league more popular, or is he just going to leave the league? Because if that's the case, then this doesn't do any good for MLS. I'm a little salty about it, but that's where I'm at.
You're talking about the PGA Tour without Tiger Woods, because that's essentially the same thing. Tiger Woods was great for the PGA Tour, and even though he's still on the PGA Tour, he's not really a factor anymore. So I think that's
but at least the PGA Tour didn't circumvent rules so that Tiger could be successful. He did that all on his own. MLS is completely leaned into making sure that Messi is good, Messi is comfortable, and Messi is winning. And then I think he's going to leave the league in ruins. That's my guess. I don't think it's going to be better because he was there.
Okay. Interesting theory. I disagree with it, but go ahead. All right. You're Mr. NBA as well. I brought up this Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, the Cavaliers season has come to an end. Donovan Mitchell has made it clear he's not sure if he wants to be back in Cleveland next year. He has 1 year left on his contract. So that would make him prime trade bait if he does not want to be in Cleveland for the long term. Donovan Mitchell's also made it clear he loves him some Paolo Banchero. Mutual respect with Paolo. You saw what happened during the series with the Magic and all the compliments he paid to Paolo Banchero and to Coach Jamal Mosley. And I'm just throwing this out there. I don't even know if the math works. You know it better than me. If you were the Magic and Donovan Mitchell wanted to come play in Orlando for Coach Mosley and with Paolo Banchero, would you try to put together a trade package involving, and I know everybody thinks Franz Wagner's untouchable. Obviously, Paolo's untouchable. Would you put together a trade package with Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, maybe some other players to bring Donovan Mitchell to Orlando?
The answer is yes and no. You definitely want to go after a player like Donovan Mitchell. And if he makes it clear that he doesn't want to sign an extension with Cleveland, he has an expiring contract going into next year. So he's still on contract next season with Cleveland, but I would use Pascal Siakam most recently as the framework. It's not like Toronto wanted to just give him away for nothing. They had to, because he wasn't going to sign an extension with Toronto. So it's the old Dwight Howard impact of let's get something for him before he walks out for free. And you lose. That's why I use that Siakam trade as the new framework for this. The Raptors got Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam, an all-star player. And maybe you have to send a tad more for Donovan Mitchell, but I'm not sending Jalen Suggs for Donovan Mitchell. I don't feel like you have to.
Okay.
So no, absolutely not. I wouldn't trade him. Now, in order to make the money work, you probably do need to put a bigger contract in there. Jonathan Isaac gets paid $17 million a year. And, he would help push that trade over the top. I think Isaac probably would have to be involved in that. That's, not with the season he's coming off of, not something I'd be excited about. But yeah, I think you come off of a player like Isaac so that you can upgrade at point guard with Donovan Mitchell. Just imagine his scoring punch on a team as good as the Magic are defensively and with the youth they have around them. That's the kind of player, when I put together my tiers of who I want the Magic to go after, Donovan Mitchell is without a doubt a tier 1 guy. My last question for you is in the basketball world as well, but it's not even so much about basketball as it is about fatherhood. Because I had this epiphany the other day. I'm watching Bronny James at the NBA draft combine, and every 2 seconds they go to the crowd and his dad is watching. And LeBron recently went to a Cavs game, and Brian Windhorst is doing his conspiracy theory of what this means and how LeBron's pressuring the Lakers for a specific coach and so that they can draft Bronny. And Bronny is asked, is it your dream to play with your dad? And he said, no. My dream is to make it to the NBA. I think LeBron James should set his kid free. Bronny already has to bear the last name of James because he is LeBron's kid. The last thing Bronny should have...
I would gladly bear that last name.
Okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. The bad thing is that he's got no chance to succeed in his NBA career if he's just simply daddy's sidekick. As a father, shouldn't you want your kid to succeed on their own and not because you have forced an organization to draft your son? I think LeBron should come out and say, I don't want to play with my son. I would love if it happened by a happy accident, but there's no way I would ever force that. He should publicly state, Bronny is his own. Don't involve me in his goings on.
Well, obviously, you're a young father, Kravitz. All right. Once you become an old father and your kids grow up and they are ready to go into the professional world, listen, I'm not LeBron James. Okay. But I have, I have a pretty good reputation in Orlando and around the state of Florida. When one of my daughters was coming out of college, you damn right I made some calls to try to get her foot in the door at certain businesses, maybe that I had some connections with. So I don't blame LeBron James at all for trying to get his kids started on he's just trying to get his kids' foot in the door in the NBA. And then, of course, Bronny's going to have to prove it for himself. But no. As a father, absolutely, you want to give your kid every advantage they can get, and then it's sink or swim. But no, if I'm LeBron James, I'm doing the exact same thing.
So you're saying, I understand making calls, but what about like telling the Sentinel, I will not write another column unless you hire my daughter?
The Sentinel would say, okay, good. We'll save your salary. Okay, bye.
All right, that example, we'll end it there. The Bulldog, Brandon Kravitz, the crossover is over. I love